Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Debate Amongst Friends. I am the Professor John Gotti, and I am the advocate for your reigning, defending, undisputed podcast champion, Doc Lees. Doc, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. So happy to be back here for episode 2 and another episode with my good friend, the Professor John Gotti, the King of RNG, the Troll Master, the Data Analyzing Ninja,
Mm.
who can crunch data with his teeth. Ninja Plus.
Oh boy, here we go. But let's get ourselves started. This was a subject that we talked about in passing. It was a lot of sidebar conversations, but we both decided let's get your true reaction to this story. So YouTube content creator Projared, way back in May, had allegations brought upon him that he was soliciting new photos of himself to underage boys. These underage boys was just everywhere, defaming him and things like that. And the community, or say social media, definitely brought their pitchforks for the situation. Now, what makes this story so interesting was a few weeks ago, Projared had a 40-minute video that he posted on YouTube defending himself. He actually came on and offered solid proof to his innocence in regards to this situation, where the young men in question fabricated their story essentially by Projared actually asked them if they are 18 because he refused to have any type of communication with people if they're under 18. So he was able to prove that yes, he did ask them the next question, and they lied and said that they were over 18. Meanwhile, they went during this time when Projared was silent. They went on to, and I keep forgetting the name of the news media company, and basically said that Projared never asked them, were they of consenting age, and also asked for him to provide an apology, which he did, but they took that information and misconstrued it to make it seem like he was being sarcastic, and basically trying to show that he has power over them based off of his social status.
Which is
But
weird.
it is weird. It is weird. And it didn't really help out that people are basically, putting him through the mud during all these months. And as soon as he came out with his proof, we didn't really hear anything from those very same naysayers. They got real quiet real fast. And it goes to what we always talk about when we, speak about media baiting, and people are just jumping on these hot topic issues without any type of information behind it. The Chris Broussard off-season turmoil that was happening with Kawhi Leonard thing is a great example of not checking your sources and going on national TV and acting like a dang fool.
Right.
Just saying things without validating the sources. But Doc, I wanted to get your thoughts about this. The floor is yours.
So 3 things. I mean, the one thing, I know we talked previously here, and I want to let people to know we're very transparent here. This is our second recording of this topic, so all the good stuff is on the hidden recording. But
that's hilarious.
Canceled culture, social media, and the basis of abuse of power. Now, this is weird. This is a weird one because we're saying here, here's a guy. If I can channel my Collinsworth, here's a guy who has a lot of followers on YouTube, right? He's on YouTube. He's a gamer, right?
Yes.
This says here, the guy had been requesting nudes for years. In the beginning, it was a joke meant for consenting adults, this person writes. But eventually, it turned into an abuse of power for him to intentionally manipulate anyone to show him their naked body on the basis that he's a popular internet man. I don't even know what that even means. What does that even mean? How can someone be intentionally manipulated by someone they know, but they don't know? Where it's like, hey,
Well,
I could
and
just change my path, my username and become somebody completely different.
completely different.
You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? Like if he
So
shows
so
if
for
he shows my
so
nude picture, I'm
hmm
gonna sue the heck out of him. You know what I mean? Because it was something that was between me and this guy. You know what I mean? So it's like I don't understand the manipulate part, but at the same time, if he's dealing with underage folks, they might be easily manipulated.
of
But
course.
that's not what the question is here. The question is,
No.
did he or did he not know that they were underage? Did he? I mean, that's speculation. I mean, of course,
No, it's not speculation anymore because he
right? It
proved
was
that.
speculation.
Yeah, but for context sake though, that article that you was mentioning, when was that article brought out?
This was one of the original ones in May.
Hmm.
This is May 9th. And this is why I wanted to go back and read this one because it was just, I wanted to see, and this is kind of the things that we talk about. It's kind of like that part in Game of Thrones where everybody's kind of throwing rocks at Cersei and people are yelling shame, but then she comes back and like kills them all. You know what I mean? It's like he killed them all by coming out in August. Like, first of all, I'm not even guilty.
Not
And
only did he say he's not even guilty, he also said that those very same people who wrote, articles just like that one that you just mentioned,
hmm
never went to him for comment and only went based off of one side of the story,
mm, which they oftentimes do.
which they not even oftentimes. It's pretty much the normacy of our media today.
Yeah,
There's no validating sources.
yeah, it's very, very often, and that's it's sad, but and that goes back to the social media aspect of my 3 points. It's like first people are canceling people for whatever reasons, but my thing is that they fail to cancel others who deserve to be canceled
Yes.
because of their own bias.
Hmm.
Then you get to the social media aspect where now everybody has a voice, and they're trying to utilize that voice, but they're really not putting it up to any good. And this is going to sound crazy, but I remember a show I was watching, and then I'll bring up another point. A show I was watching where there was a kind of like an evil spirit that was feeding off of negative energy released on social media. It was just one episode, and there was like this big thing where, these girls were kind of trying to lose weight, and there were so many people posting different things about them, and it was feeding literally that negative energy up
Yep.
into something huge that ultimately consumed those girls, and of course they wound up dying in the show. But it's like social media is so powerful these days; it can either shoot somebody or catapult them into something great, or it can basically deplete them of everything that they've ever thought was good about themselves.
Yes.
And the second part was in relation to being a celebrity. And this is something where, in this situation, he should know. Projared at this point should know that he has to be extremely careful. Don't be sorry, Jared. Be careful. You know what I mean? You got to be careful out here because there are people who are on this planet on Earth right now that are going to be here specifically to bring him down.
Hmm.
And I remember being somebody of this stature, somebody who has millions of followers. You can't really do some of the things that other normal, regular people would do. Right now you're considered a celebrity. You have to kind of embrace that celebrity lifestyle, which means
Yes.
you can't go around asking people for nudes especially on a public platform. It's got to be super private.
Well, and not just that, and we talked about this on our sidebar as well too. Like
hmm
you have to find that divide between your relationship with your fans and your relationship with those that are not your fans. Because if you bring fans into what your personal life is behind the cameras,
hmm
like that just opens up an entirely huge cans of worms. And he acknowledged at the end of his video that that was a mistake by him. He
Huge.
shouldn't get involved with fans like that. And I mean, and there's been, situations where fans and, a public figure, I think that was the term
Mhm.
we were trying to use,
Mhm.
uh, became too intimate. And
Absolutely.
it just led to disaster.
I mean, look at Usher. Usher, I think, didn't one girl come out and say he gave her an STD or something like that? I mean, these kind of things
Exactly.
happen,
Yeah.
and it's like those ruin your reputation. Even if it's not true, it's just the fact that it came out, and now it's like either going to be fanning the flame or like slowly trying to put it out, but then making it
Yep.
worse. It's like, it's tough.
Well, and unfortunately, that's just the way that our society is these days. It's not about what's the truth. It's about who can get whatever story out first,
Right. Absolutely.
and how many. And I don't want to use it in a derogatory way, but how many of the lepers out there will just pounce on it
Mm,
to, get it out there and get all these clicks. I
this is
mean,
true.
I don't even think it hit an hour before people started posting stuff about the Projared situation. I mean, heck, it was the same way the same way for the subject that led to Debate Amongst Friends becoming a podcast,
This
which
is
was the Bill
true.
Cosby situation.
Which was which is ironic because it was about Bill Cosby and Jared
Yes,
from Subway.
eat fresh.
Yeah, wow, that's so ironic. I mean, but
I know.
shout out to us for 2 weeks back to back, like I'm on the cover of Lethal Weapon, back to back. Yeah, for
Yeah.
starting the show with something not so much like traditional sports related. Not even, I can't even say that. Our traditional sport related topics. As last week we started with baseball, this week we started with a pro gamer. So shout out to us. But stand by, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be right back after this commercial break. All right, thank you so much, guys. We are back. Thank you for staying with us, first and foremost. Moving on to the NFL. Well, we had a lot of injuries for week one. First and foremost, welcome back, NFL. I mean, what a week one. Not only injuries,
Yeah.
but we saw some great offensive performances, some great defensive performances, but mostly offensive performances. But I definitely want to start with the injuries because they were piling up real quick. First quarter, second quarter, piling up. First and foremost, Tyreek Hill went down. Then Nick Foles went down. Later on, I saw Tevin Coleman, Jimmy Smith, and even Malik Jackson go down. Joe
Yep.
Mixon is hurt. Eric Weddle got hurt. And one of the last ones we wanted to mention was Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns, the Ohio's new favorite son since what's his name left.
I don't know, but he's definitely chasing Ghosts of Chicago.
Oh, yikes, yikes. But Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns got shellacked by the Duke's Titans, and we here at Debate Amongst Friends just wants to give out a quick apology to the Duke and the Titans, as we were almost certain that they were going to beat the Browns, or that they were going to beat the Titans,
Oh.
excuse me. A little Freudian there, a little Freudian.
Well, and here's the thing about that game.
Here's the thing.
I'm going to give great kudos to the defense of the Tennessee Titans.
Of
They
course.
came in there and they did what they needed to do.
Yeah.
But Cleveland's defense was trash.
And that's crazy.
They were trash. They so many blown coverages. Of course they're going to lose. So by the time the game was still close before it got away. If you look at the box scores, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone's just looking at the final scores, oh my gosh, they got shellacked, they suck, blah
Mm-hmm.
blah, and immediately after the game, people started saying, oh well, the Brown season it's over, and people were jumping off the band. Relax, first of all,
Relax.
it's just the first game of the season. It really is the first game of the season. By the time it hit the fourth quarter, it was still a close game.
Indeed.
And it was the fourth quarter that killed them. It was the fourth quarter that killed them.
I just think that in the beginning of the season, everybody's kind of thinking that these are the same teams from last year. So when you think at last year and you're looking at it, it's like, all right, the Browns last year were okay. They were starting to turn it around at the end. They were doing
Mm-hmm.
pretty good. They come in, retooled. They've signed all these people. They're like that old Lakers team with Gary Payton, Karl Malone, Kobe, Shaq. You got all these players coming in.
Yep.
That hype train is all aboard. Everybody's picking them and the Chiefs and Madden, and then they come out and they only drop 13 points. So it kind of, I mean, I don't know. It kind of stings a little bit if you're a Browns fan. You thought you were on your way to the top, and you got a daily dose of reality.
Reality.
But
Well, once again, like this is more on how well how badly the Browns defense played.
mhm,
Because by the time the game started to get out of the way, of course Baker's going to have to throw the ball. Like
true.
they really didn't have a lot of time to do anything.
This is true. And I mean,
Like
I'm
they
just
can't really
happy.
run the ball. I mean, even if you look at the team stats, like they were there stat wise with the Titans. So we can't sit there and just act like it was, oh, they didn't do anything all game and they only scored 13 points. No, they were still moving the ball. They just couldn't put points on the board.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to.
I
And,
know.
I was just happy because I had Derrick Henry and, he had 19 carries for 84
He had
yards.
a
And
he
I
had a
was,
great game.
yeah, I was very, very happy with it. But a
He had
lot
a
of
great
people,
game. Marcus Mariota had a pretty
that's
okay,
what I was about to
okay
say.
game too.
Nobody talked about Marcus Mariota, and I didn't know he had 3 touchdown passes,
He
which,
did
which
248. Yep,
3 touchdown passes for Marcus Mariota, that's pretty amazing.
that's great for fantasy
It is great for fantasy, and if
if
he
you
can
have
keep
him with
that up,
fantasy.
right? If he can keep that up, I mean, he might prove that old debate with Jameis. He might prove him to be wrong.
Ooh.
I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go there though. I'm not gonna go there because we're moving
I was
on.
like, wait, are we going to talk about this
No,
today?
we're not talking about this today. We're not talking about it. We'll talk about it closer to the end. Close to the end.
Okay,
Because right
okay, because I'm
now,
like,
no, we're
I
not doing
know
that.
we talked about this the other day, so
No,
I want to
no,
make sure.
we're not doing that. So
Okay.
actually, we're gonna continue our winning ways here. Move on to the New England Patriots, who rolled through the Steelers 33-3. They looked awesome, bro. Like
They
it was,
did.
it was like, oh my god, like this
They did. But
team.
I'm gonna say with most of these games, because there's some games that we knew that the team's gonna be pretty trash, and they
Yeah,
got to show.
absolutely, absolutely.
But it's still just the first game of the season. Like it's the first game of the season. They don't have AB. They don't have
I can't believe you said
Le'Veon.
that.
Like it's the first game, full game that they played without those two players,
Yeah.
and they have to work with new pieces.
Well, you got to think about it. They haven't had Le'Veon since last year. They don't have Antonio. That's huge.
And yes, and I will agree with that.
That's huge
I will
because
agree with that.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Ben was out there, and I'm like, I have Juju Smith Schuster on my fantasy team, and I'm sitting there like, I'm thinking, okay, Juju is not gonna get the 13 to 1500 yards that
Hmm.
Antonio had, but I'm thinking, Ben's gonna really target him. But I'm be honest with you, like
No,
it is tough out here for Juju. But like you said, it's game one. I feel like he's going to be fine. They're going to have to move him around a little bit. But the Patriots look
Patriots look great.
amazing.
They look great.
I hate it too. Like I really hate it because I mean this is without Antonio Brown. But they just have a way of getting everybody touches. Like every single offensive player gets touches, and it's so crazy the way they handle it. And when Antonio Brown comes in, as long as he buys in, it's going to be awesome.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to hate it. But speaking of Antonio Brown, I mean, obviously the cat's out of the bag. New England signs Antonio Brown after the Raiders release him, which the Raiders
6
didn't.
hours later.
Right. Which the Raiders didn't play bad at all. The Raiders did okay without Antonio Brown. Unlike the Steelers, the Raiders were fine. They beat the Broncos 24-16. So the Raiders were absolutely fine. I think Antonio Brown coming in was just like, a little sprinkles on their ice cream, but hey, we got ice cream. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter if we have sprinkles or not.
What a monumental night at the Oakland Coliseum.
I really agree with that.
Yeah, so I would say for the Raiders, it's okay. It stinks because they wasted so much time with it, but it is what it is. Speaking of wasting time and not wasting time, though, the trade of Demaryius Thomas to the Jets. I mean, wow. But
Yeah.
I don't blame them though. I don't blame them. I feel like you bring in Antonio Brown, you have Josh Gordon, and I think we talked about this off the stream. Antonio Brown coming in, and then I thought they would have kept, Demaryius Thomas just in case Josh Gordon doesn't stay off the weed, or go through some other kind of, meltdown later in the season like he did last year. But trading for Demaryius Thomas, I think that helps the Jets a lot. Granted, they played very well this past weekend, just couldn't get it done. But yeah, I think it's going to be awesome for both parties. I'm hoping that the Jets can use them.
Well, and even that game ended up being really, really there was a lot of really, really close games. There were just certain games that was laughable.
This is true.
And if you're a Finn fan, I apologize.
Please apologize. I mean, actually, I don't even know if you should apologize because
I apologize that your team is going to be the laughing stock of the 2019 season.
It's 1 week though. Like that's where 1 week comes in. That's where 1 week comes in. Come on. And you would be doing a disservice to Lamar Jackson if you say that, the Ravens shouldn't have beat them this bad.
No, I expected the Ravens to beat them this bad.
Okay, I wouldn't have said 40. I wouldn't have said 59 points. Maybe
I would have said at least 35.
I would have said at least
35.
I wouldn't have said 59. I could see how embarrassing 59 could be. But imagine you're a new head coach. You're a defensive coordinator who came from the Patriots. And you're a new head coach. And your first game, you give up 59 points. That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to they have Ryan Fitzpatrick as your starting quarterback.
Which, I mean, I don't know because Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's up and down. So I don't know which Ryan Fitzpatrick they're going to get. He is up and down.
Well, they didn't get the Ryan Fitzpatrick from last season who was,
the first 2 or 3 games.
The first 2 or 3 games.
The first 2 or 3 games. I mean, but did he do?
As the media's talking about Fit Magic.
He didn't do granted, he didn't do terrible. He was 14 for 29, 185 yards. He didn't throw like a gazillion picks. It just looks like they didn't get any running game going at all. They were struggling so much. But what about fans having bags over their head and players saying that they want to be traded? What do you think about that?
So here's what I think about that. So first of all, guys, unless y'all go 0-16 this year, don't put the bags over your head.
Don't put the bags over.
That's where I say that's only the first game of the season.
Right.
Y'all need to stop it.
Well, see,
wait, hold on. You knew what your team was going to be before the season started.
See, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't. Because everybody has high hopes.
You knew exactly.
No. You can't do that to them. You cannot do that to the Dolphins fans. You got people out there burning jerseys week 1. You're burning jerseys week 1.
People burn jerseys for the most minute reasons.
No, this is week 1. There's no burning of jerseys week 1.
No.
But I will give you a quick Bucks take here. Now,
are we really going to do this?
I'll do this. I'm gonna audible just a little bit. We'll give you a quick Bucks take. So, and I only say this because we're talking about fans throwing in the towel, and I'll be honest. I mean, after Jameis threw that pick at the end of the game, I was a little upset myself. And I'll say, like, I don't know what Jameis is doing, but after hearing Bruce Arians and even after listening to Jameis, it was like, you know, I can understand why he did it, but at the end of the day, and this is something that I've been saying these last couple years, Jameis lives and dies on trying to win the game with every throw instead of
Yes.
like living to play another down. And that's the one thing that hurts and harms him. So when you look at Mariota, and you look at people like Lamar Jackson and some of the other quarterbacks who are really, really good in the same, well, Lamar Jackson's in his second year, Mariota and Jameis are in their fifth year, you expect a certain progression. And I guess people are writing Jameis off already, putting the paper bags over their heads because they feel like Jameis isn't getting any better. But it's tough, and it sucks because there's so many couch coaches and GMs.
And yes, I will agree because we had that discussion about your Bucks front office, how they could be very up and down, like day and night. But the other part of it too is, I mean, look how open the receivers got for the Ravens compared to the Bucks.
This is
true.
true.
That's a factor to put into there. It's not the factor because Jameis shouldn't throw into triple coverage like that.
This is very true.
But double coverage like that.
Now, the one thing I'll say, he should have threw that in the dirt. There's no question about it. He said it. He should have threw it in the dirt. But what people fail to realize, and they would have saw it, he had just got called for intentional grounding like 2 plays before. So I can understand why he would have been like, you know what, they're calling that kind of strict today. Let me try to throw it a little outside of the screen instead of throwing it directly at a lineman's feet, and they're calling me for grounding. But I mean, I don't know. But I'm a Bucks fan, do or die. I'm gonna ride with it. But the one thing I will say, talking about riding it out, is Laramie Tunsil and how the Houston Texans are gonna have to ride out this decision to trade for him at this point of the season. 6 sacks. He gave up 6 sacks, sir. What did you think of when you heard that news? Or that number?
I felt the 6 sacks part. I don't think there was many people who were analyzing why he gave up 6 sacks.
Right.
Like, I feel like that piece should have had a little bit more highlight than just, well, he just had 6 sacks. Like, they're gonna, regret it completely.
Absolutely. And they
that's the first thing I'm gonna say there. Like, let's add some analysis behind there instead of just focusing on the 6 sacks. Like, he got beat a lot.
He really did.
Like, he was not moving his feet well enough to have a factor defending his quarterback.
And the one thing I'll say, and I think this is also something to kind of throw out there, I mean, this isn't one of those things like, and I don't even remember that Cowboy lineman that gave up I remember Adrian Claiborne was just like getting sacked on.
Yeah.
I mean, he was killing that lineman. It was a backup lineman. I don't remember who it was. But I don't think this is one of those situations. And give some credit to the Saints. I mean, the Saints are no slouches with the pass
Saints,
rush.
For most people, is a Super Bowl contender. Like,
yeah, they're no slouches.
Like the defense had this one drive where for 3 straight snaps, blitzed the ever-loving crap out of Deshaun Watson. Not even 2 seconds, like 1.3 seconds, and they're in his face.
And I can understand that, and I believe that because number one, the Saints are trying to get over that hump. I mean, it makes sense. I get it.
The Saints are trying to get revenge, and of course the crowd had to live into that hype because of the PI call.
Yeah.
From last year. So they're riding on a lot of emotions heading into this game.
Well, it's kind of tough.
A lot of emotions.
Because you're talking about now back-to-back. Isn't it 2 years back-to-back? You got the missed PI, and then you got the missed tackle the previous year. Yeah, so it's the Saints are tired. I mean, they're one gimmick or one glitch away from really being in the big game, or at least a bigger game. So I
Bigger
can
game.
see how it could be kind of rough for them. But yeah, I mean, hopefully Laramie Tunsil hangs in there. He doesn't
Yeah,
get too overwhelmed by the chatter, and he stays in it.
absolutely. I mean, speaking of that game, though, I mean, let me tell you who had a really, really good game despite the loss.
Who's that?
Duke Johnson had a really good game.
Well, Duke Johnson is a pretty solid player. I mean,
Yeah,
it just so happens, and I don't know if the Browns are gonna get the curse of the Duke, because I
I see what
mean,
you did there. I saw what you did there.
because Duke Johnson wasn't a bad player for the Browns. Neither
Nope.
was Carlos Hyde, which is hilarious because they're both on the Texans now.
I know.
But I don't think that they should have. I mean, I know they got some good backs over there in Cleveland, but I think Duke Johnson was one of those guys I probably would have stored away and kind of use them like the Patriots do, like New
Hmm.
Orleans does. I mean, freak, New Orleans has freaking quarterback out there catching passes. I mean,
Catching passes,
yeah,
rushing,
he's a monster out
playing
there.
special teams.
It's amazing. But that's neither here nor there. That
Absolutely.
that's our NFL news. I mean, if you have any, and the doc means any questions, comments, concerns, if you want to just voice your opinion, feel free to go to our Anchor page and record that message. And that is anchor.fm/. Debate amongst friends. It's very easy,
Yes.
And if you want to even record your own podcast, Anchor is the place to go. I mean, literally, they're an anchor for your podcast.
They're anchor for your podcast daily lives.
I mean, just boom, drop the anchor. But we will be right back after this message. Ladies and gentlemen, every show we're going to give you a quick 2-minute drill, just some topics that we didn't discuss during the show. My first one here is going to be NBA 2K20 released last Friday, and fans are still trying to get used to the new My Player build system.
Mm. For me, I'm going to start off with it's time to start spreading the news. The New York Yankees have dominated the Boston Red Sox in the latest series, defeating them 5-0 the other day, having a great hitting day, hitting over 3.0 for their on base percentage, and their slug rating is over 0.45 as well. The starting pitcher had an ERA of over actually just about 3 for his last 7 games. And the prior game, not the one I'm talking about, but the prior game where the Yankees destroyed the Red Sox, it led to the team firing their team president, Dave Dombrowski.
On the basketball front, Lakers applied for a disabled player exception for Boogie Cousins for salary cap relief.
Ugh.
Yikes.
And in the world of the Capcom Pro Tour, Bon Chan, the reigning defending Evolution champion, is on top of the leaderboards, followed by Punk, Tokido, Fujimura, and Problem X.
In other news, Grizzlies here refusing an Iguodala buyout, holding him hostage in Memphis.
And finally, it's time to join the mayhem. Gearbox and 2K will release their brand new game, Borderlands 3, this Friday, September 13th, 2019. It is a action role-playing first-person loot shooter video game that has an incredible following. And if you like it and you want to give it a try on launch day on Friday, it will be off $10.
And we will be right back.
Thank you for listening to Debate Amongst Friends. Give us a follow on our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
You can also listen to all of our Debate Amongst Friends podcasts here on Anchor, as well as Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and iTunes.
And like we always say, goodbye, mwah, and to all, a good night. LASG.
Peace to you.
Yay!